Zach with Wingard Wearables. You are one of 12 special people who's going to watch this video to the end. And today's video is our first full Tang Tomahawk. Check it out. It's the Sparrowhawk, and isn't she a beauty? Now, the Sparrowhawk took over 2 years from concept through prototyping to product line. It is by far our most involved product. Very, very, very intensive. But it is so, so nice. Incredible in the hand. Easy to carry. I'm wearing one under my arm right now. So yeah, you're going to get in this video, the process of how this thing came about. We're going to talk about how it got made, what it can do, and where you can get your Sparrowhawk. Be edgy. So the Sparrowhawk. It doesn't just look different from full Tang Tomahawks, it is different. Now, the biggest difference is in the girth. Now, most full Tang Tomahawks on the market, they're made by 2D stock removal, machined out of a plate of steel. This plate of steel is usually 3/16 thick to maybe 3/8 thick at the thickest. The Sparrowhawk is over a 1/2 inch thick in this head region and neck region. But it's actually lighter than most full Tang Tomahawks on the market. And the reason for that is the tapering, right? It starts out at over a 1/2 inch thick here, but it goes to about a 1/4 inch here and then bumps up at the bottom. Now, most full Tang Tomahawks on the market are anywhere from 20 to over 24 ounces. We're talking pushing beyond 1.5 pounds. The Sparrowhawk, under 18 ounces. Really lively in the hand for a full Tang Tomahawk. This is just feels fantastic. And the other difference is aesthetics. There's a lot of full Tang Tomahawks on the market that they look cool, but it's an industrial machined aesthetic. And we wanted to go with a curvy, natural, lively aesthetic. And I mean, this literally looks like a bird. And this bird can fly. We'll show you guys videos soon. So the story of the Sparrowhawk begins January 2022 on a beach in Puerto Rico. It was like one of those beach resort places. We had credit card points accumulated, so we had this, financially responsible vacation there. And I'm sitting on the beach. I'm your favorite Tomahawk merchant. I can't just sit there relaxing. I had my sketch pad out and I was doodling Tomahawk concepts. And I was thinking, hey, if Wingard Wearables is going to do a full Tang Tomahawk, what would that be? It can't be the full Tang Tomahawks that saturate the market right now. What if we look and drew inspiration from historic weapons that are kind of close to full Tang Tomahawks in a way? Think of European hurlbats, like the Germanic areas in the 1300s, 1500s. They had these, one-piece metal throwing axes. Also think about Central Africa. They had tribes that used hunga-mungas and these other hybrid axe knife throwing weapons. And then you go to 18th century North America on the frontier, and there are examples of all iron tomahawks, hand forged on the frontier for Native American warriors. And I'm going through my sketches and I have these things on my brain. I'm looking at pictures of them and thinking about their function and how you can adapt it for today. And I was also thinking, how awesome would it be to dial in a fusion of these designs so that if you showed it to some medieval Germanic soldier or some, warrior in Central Africa or, Native American war party, they would hold this thing in their hands and they would desire it, and they would really be enthusiastically splitting the skulls of their enemies. That's what we wanted to do. So after that vacation, I took my, bundle of hand sketches. I got on the computer and I had a CAD CAM program, and I iterated and refined these designs, just so many design iterations until we had something that we thought looked promising. It was a concept where the thickness was forward. We thinned down the handle to keep the overall weight down, and it was shaped like this. This is a 3D printout of our final concept, or what we thought was the final concept. But it was like, hey, this is plastic. We need to get this made out of a properly strong, tough steel and test this idea as a prototype, put it through the paces, and make sure this can work as a product line. Well, how do you make it? it's such a thick shape. There's a lot of challenges to doing that. And when we surveyed different approaches to get these manufactured, eventually the best option we found was wax investment casting. All right, so when we pursued wax investment casting, it was an expensive process, but it was the best approach to achieve a clean three-dimensional shape. And so you see, this is what the Sparrowhawk looks like when it's finished, right? But when it's done with the casting after heat treatment, this is what it looks like, right? And so you can see the three-dimensionality in the casting. We're 5/8 thick as a cast part. It then tapers down to a 1/4 inch thick here and then flares out to 3/8 thick at the bottom. All right, and if you look at the top here, 5/8 thick, tapers down to a 1/4 inch thick, tapers down to a 1/4 inch thick. This is a very three-dimensional part. And we've even got holes, slots, and grooves here for attaching the leather wrap, right? And so that three-dimensional part, if you were to apply like a standard two-dimensional like stock removal process, you would be using so much more material. Like going from this to this, we had to remove a little over an ounce in resurfacing and grinding, freehand grinding that edge, about an ounce or more of steel. But if you were to do that with a stock removal process out of a really thick, a 5/8 thick plate of steel, you're talking removing pounds of steel in order to do that. It would have been extremely difficult. Now, the Sparrowhawk is cast from 4340, heat treated to around 53 Rockwell C. The 4300 series of steel is extraordinarily tough. If you're a knife steel nerd, you're interested in hardnesses of Rockwell beyond Rockwell 60 and really good edge retention, that sort of thing. Those are wonderful for steel properties on like folding pocket knives. That's great. But when you're talking a full Tang Tomahawk, which is going to be thrown, which is going to endure all kinds of impact and prying, you need a really tough steel. And that's why so many full Tang Tomahawks on the market are often using like 4140 or 4340, which is even stronger. So that's what we went with. It was all about impact and toughness and surviving the prying and impact of throwing, and also impact in chops and utility. Now, features. The Sparrowhawk, girthiest tomahawk on the market, over a 1/2 inch thick. Now, when we taper that thickness down, right, what that buys us is forward center of balance. I'm going to try to balance this in the hand. So the center of balance is around here, very close to the impact zone. A lot of full Tang tomahawks with constant thickness are not going to have a center of balance that close to the chopping edge. Also, what that thickness does, you see how thick it is in this neck region here. Well, that means we can pinch down the neck here so that we have, from this distance, spike tip to chopping edge, it's 6.5 inches. Yet we have a properly long 3.5 inch spike and a big chopping blade. So going thick buys you a couple of things that are pretty unique. And we are going to cut outside for a shot on what else the thickness will buy you. So girth is where it's worth. You see the Sparrowhawk is extra thick in this region here. You can use this surface, and this surface for batoning through pieces of wood. So here we've got a piece of wood. We set the Sparrowhawk blade down. We got ourselves a stick, and you can impact behind the bird's head or in the neck region. And you can baton and split through pieces of wood. Now, the top of the head and the bottom of the handle can be used to split up thinner pieces of wood for like finer levels of breaking down wood for like fire making. So you can just baton here, and you see we've split that piece of wood up, and break it down even further. Like you're talking, matchstick thinness. So yeah, very handy using all that thickness along the length of the Sparrowhawk. Also, another point about the Sparrowhawk, we went with this leather wrap grip that goes in this gripping section here that eliminates a lot of the hand shock you experience when you're chopping. But it also, we didn't want any grip scales going up into this region here, because if you're batoning into pieces of wood, depending on the piece of wood you're adapting to, if those handle scales were running up into this region, they'd be potentially getting damaged when you're using this surface for a batoning or when you're splitting through wood. So anyways, that's why we kept it streamlined in this section of the Tomahawk for batoning and splitting through. And the Sparrowhawk's long straight spike and flat sides can be used to drive stakes into the ground, much like our Stingray Tomahawk. The spike isn't as long and tapered, and the flat sides don't project as far, so it doesn't perform as well as the Stingray in this regard, but it does a very good job. So we're going to create a pre-tapped hole in the dirt. We're going to set the stake in, and the chopping blade is going to face away from us, and we're going to use this impact face here to drive the stake deeply into the ground. It's as easy as that. Now, the Sparrowhawk is a tomahawk, and it weighs barely over a pound. It's under 18 ounces, okay? Most hatchets are pushing close to 2 pounds. Some of them are even over 2 pounds. A hatchet is a superior wood processing chopping tool because it has so much impact momentum. But the Sparrowhawk is our heaviest tomahawk we've ever come out with. And so I wanted to do some just simple chopping, just see what a few chops would do with a sharp Sparrowhawk on a 2x4. So let's see if we can make the chips fly. Chips flew, and leather grip wrap. Now, I work with my hands a lot, and I'm not going to say I have hard hands, tough hands, but this was comfortable to me. Your mileage may vary, but I did not feel any hand shock. Like, that's a common thing with full Tang Tomahawks that have rigid grip scales on them, that you'll feel that hand shock from impact going all the way up into your hand. That's one of the advantages of having a wood-handled hatchet or tomahawk. A springy piece of hickory will take up a lot of that hand shock. Well, this leather cord wrap does an excellent job of doing that. So, yeah, this can do a number of useful things in bushcraft, and it can do some pretty interesting things in combatives. So, this design is capable of chopping, thrusting, spike strikes, and pommel strikes. And we will demonstrate the extraction forces on this fruit. Are you ready? So, it extracts very easily because there is no beard. When this chops in, it slides out. You just do that kind of cycling back motion for the chop. And the spike in percussion is streamlined for penetration and extraction. Now we're going to try to thrust into this guy without it comically rolling off the table. Let's see how this goes. All right, so on the thrust, oh well, dead fruit. All right, and we will grab a tougher fruit, a watermelon, to demo some more. It's kind of fun. I feel satisfied doing that. I feel good. You guys will too once you get one of these. I'm like a lizard. I need like sunlight on me to up my energy. That previous shot, there was a cloud on it. So, you know, I was low energy. The wife was like, yeah, you got to bump it up a notch. So I've demolished a cantaloupe. And next is a honeydew. I don't like honeydews. This is okay. All right. Chops, extracts very easily. Thrusts. Spike strike. And then finally, yeah, splattery. I needed goggles on this thing. Yeah, so on a flesh surrogate, the Sparrowhawk. It's kind of awesome. All right, so when you compare the Sparrowhawk to the Stingray Tomahawk is extremely optimized for everyday carry and throwing. So in the throw, as it's going through its spin rotations, about 70% of its rotation will result in a concentrated impact. You've got the chisel tip base of the hickory handle impacting hard, focused impact. If you're under rotated, this is curved and it'll ramp the blade in. You've got the chopping blade impact. The chopping blade flares upwards, so you can even get sticks at angles. And the spike is long and ramp-like, so you get sticks at off-angle impacts with the spike side. So very, very optimized in the throw. Yet the Sparrowhawk has increased this probability of focused impact from 70% to about 90% of its rotation. The butt end has an even more focused chisel tip, so it's extremely focused impact. At under rotation, it's still curved to ramp the chopping blade in. The handle is shorter and the chopping blade is longer, and the chopping blade flares upwards. So those factors all combine so that as it's going through its rotation, there's only about a 33-degree angle of rotation where the tip of the spike and the tip of the handle are offline enough that you don't get a focused impact. Otherwise, about 90% of its rotation will result in a very focused impact. So, yeah, it's just really fantastic in the throw. However, there's a weight difference, right? So the Stingray with its hickory handle weighs about 12 to 13 ounces total. It throws faster with less effort. The Sparrowhawk is under 18 ounces, so it's about 5 ounces heavier. You've got to put a lot more energy into the throw, and you have to adjust your point of aim for this heavier, slower tomahawk to make it to target where you're aiming for it. Okay, so this was about 7 feet away. We got a deep chopping blade impact, just square on. So we got the Sparrowhawk head deeply buried in target. All right, so the bird's head has sunk deeply into target. This would have been for the Stingray, a top head impact, which probably wouldn't have stuck on target. So this is like one of the advantages of, you know, getting beyond the chopping edge, yet still piercing into target. Okay, so we got the spike deeply embedded, even though it impacted at an off angle. That spike still has a ramp-like shape and a chisel tip concentrated enough to bury, and even into this heavily damaged target. So you'll notice on video that it hit square on, and then it kind of rotated down after impact. There's still a lot of shock and vibration, even with a metal tomahawk impacting on target, but this target is just so pre-damaged that, you know, that spike, you know, it buries in, but the weight of the Tomahawk can cause it to flop over. Still, a stick is a stick. All right, so we got the Sparrowhawk, and on one of the throws, this failed to stick into target, but the pommel slammed in and created, I mean, a really, really deep hole into this wood. It was very focused impact. So it's not going to stick into every wood target. I think an end grain target would do a lot better for actually getting that satisfying stick into target. But you can see that is quite a dent. And the stingrays can do quite a dent too, about the width of your thumb and maybe the depth of half the tip of your thumb. But this is a lot more focused. We've even had throws where it's buried about an inch deep into wood. This is about 16 feet away. That'd be a bad day. So here we got spike side impact, and the chisel tip actually came over and damaged a chunk of this wood here. So even at off-angle impact, this was starting to get into that zone where you won't get concentrated impact, where the spike tip and the chisel tip blade are offline. It was almost there, but it still got it. Quite a bit of damage. I hadn't really had a throw like that where two sharp tips impacted into the target at the same time. Pretty neat. Now, your Sparrowhawk's carry system consists of 3 Kydex covers. One covers the blade, the other covers the spike tip, and the last covers the bottom pommel of your Tomahawk handle. And they're interconnected with an 1/8 inch shot cord. And we have 3 alligator clamps that clip to your clothing. Now you can wear the Sparrowhawk carry system tucked inside the waistband or outside the waistband trapped in your belt. However, this long straight shape is not contoured to your body when it's worn inside the waistband. Like, we highly recommend, if you're going to carry inside the waistband, carry a back ripper or an Empress. The Sparrowhawk is so large and long in its head dimensions, it will print badly if you wear it inside the waistband or outside the waistband. That's why we recommend carrying it under your arm. So this is my prototype Sparrowhawk I wear under my arm. And so let me take off my shirt to show you my carry system rig. All right, we've got flat stock paracord looped between my shoulders. All right, now you got blade cover, spike cover, and we got pommel cover. And when you have gutted paracord like this looped simply between your shoulders, you get the alligator clamps tied in 2 locations on the shoulder loop, and then one of them on your waistband at a location that works best for your torso height. The purpose of this is to keep the handle from swinging in a direction that is not helpful to you, that will print under your covering garment. All right. So to draw it, you do need 2 hands. The first hand clears the covering garment and then puts tension on this shot cord. It needs to hold tension on it. The second hand grabs it by the handle, and then you pull it forward, and the blade is going to release and the spike is going to pop off those spike covers. And then you're ready to go for full-length, choppy, rippy goodness, throwing, batoning, bushcraft, whatever you need to do. To resheath it, blade cover on, spike cover on, pommel cover on. You're ready to go. You can do push-ups with this. You can roll around on the ground with it. You know, just make sure where you have these clipped, especially here on your pant line, that's it's not clipped so tightly or so far away that there's too much tension on it ahead of time. Like, make sure you're doing like stretches with your torso and reaching and that sort of thing to make sure you're dialed in. But yeah, underarm carry, definitely the way to go. So the Sparrowhawk, have you seen a prettier tomahawk? I don't think so. This is the most beautiful tomahawk on the market, and this tomahawk could be yours today. Sparrowhawks are live on the site. 425 USD, includes carry system and US shipping. Entirely made by small American businesses in the USA. Get yours today, and thank you for being one of the 12 people to watch this video to the end. Share it with a friend so that 13 will have watched it, and remember to be edgy.